The lifeblood of every B2B SaaS business is leads and pipeline. The more pipeline that you have, the more revenue that you're going to get. That's simple math. And whether this is a SaaS business, a services business, or an AI business, the math remains the same. Here's a big question though. In a world that is busier and noisier than ever before, how do you get your ideal customers to come to you? This is the art and science of demand generation. In this episode, I'm gonna walk you through 3 demand generation strategies that are working today that you can deploy into your B2B business so that you're getting more leads, more pipeline, and you're accelerating your path to the next stage of growth. And if you watch till the end, not only am I gonna first give you the 3 strategies, if you watch till the end, I'm gonna explain exactly why these strategies work and which one to go with first to get the fastest results. Intro. All of the demand generation strategies that I'm gonna be walking you through over here, I learned from my last company, Kader. Kader was backed by Andreessen Horowitz. We started the sales engagement category. We grew Kader and then sold it to a company called Marketo. Yes, that's the Marketo that started the entire demand generation category. I was SVP of strategy there. We did a 2-year transformation and then we were able to exit it to Adobe for $4.75 billion. Since then, I have helped hundreds of founders of B2B SaaS and AI companies to implement these 3 strategies. And I'm gonna be walking you through each of them and explaining exactly why they work and how to deploy it. And by the way, all of these principles are outlined in detail as part of a broader go-to-market strategy inside of my 5-point AI and SaaS growth strategy guide. So if you want a copy of that guide completely for free, just comment below with guide and I'll link you to it. Now, principle number 1, for generating inbound leads and inbound pipeline, where your ideal customers are coming to you, is what I call the micro-site strategy. Now, this micro-site strategy is where you buy a domain that is very much aligned to the problem you're solving. Not the name of your company, but the actual problem you're solving. And what you do is you create an in-depth micro-site with content that will place on search results and LLM results so that when people are asking about the problem your company solves, this microsite comes up and is actually cited and linked to. From this microsite, you're going to link to an actual lead magnet and also your website. And you're either gonna get a sales call out of this microsite or you're more likely going to get an actual lead, which you'll then nurture and drive to a sales process and convert to revenue. This microsite strategy I first learned back in the Toutapp days. We were targeting salespeople and sales engagement wasn't a category yet. And so we decided that, hey, in order to attract salespeople, we should create some sort of a microsite that is catering to exactly what they're looking for. So we bought the domain spreadsheetcrm.com. And turns out a lot of people were searching for spreadsheet CRM. Salespeople just needed their own spreadsheet to track their own deals instead of the company CRM. So we created a microsite. We offered an actual template for a spreadsheet CRM, and we turned that lead and nurtured them and sold them on Toutapp saying, hey, as you're tracking these deals, you'll probably want to follow up with these deals. You'll probably want to track your emails. You probably want to generate more pipeline. So use Toutapp for that. And to this day, years later, I don't even own the domain spreadsheetcrm.com anymore. Ironically, it's now owned by Adobe because through the Toutapp acquisition, to the Marketo acquisition, to the Adobe acquisition, they have the domain now, but we still get leads in the LinkedIn group that we created as part of the onboarding sequence, which is kind of crazy. Now, if you fast forward to today, this same strategy I'm using, I happen to own the domain idealcustomerprofile.com. And in our business, Unstoppable, we coach founders to build out their go-to-market strategy, to implement everything I teach in this channel. And that strategy is working even today where people are finding the idealcustomerprofile.com site and turning into leads and turning into clients of ours because they need a proper ideal customer profile and a go-to-market strategy, which is awesome. So this microsite strategy actually works really well because instead of trying to just sell to the people that are actively buying in the market, and I'll explain why that matters, you're actually capturing people that are your ideal customers. You're getting them to come to you. Now, in some cases, I've seen other implementations of this. You can create a microsite. In my case, I always did it a content site, but you can also create some sort of a tool. You can also create a blog post on your main site that ends up becoming a big pillar content content blog post that captures SEO traffic and converts to a lead magnet. You can do different variations of this. But the general idea here is to speak to the problem your ideal customer is having and attracting traffic through SEO and AEO, which is ChatGPT and Gemini and all the LLMs. So they're driving traffic to this microsite, which is in turn turning into an actual lead or an actual sale, or eventually a lead and then being nurtured and turning into a sale. And this is strategy number one. And a lot of people don't know to do this. It requires a little bit of skill. And by the way, each of these strategies become easier and easier. I gave you the hardest one first, but when you do it and when it works, in the case of spreadsheetcrm.com, it still is generating traffic today, which is wild, because even if you go to the site, the SSL certificate is expired. No one's even taking care of it, but somehow we still get requests from people joining the LinkedIn group, which is very, very weird. And so this really outlasts time. These are evergreen. One of the biggest reasons this demand gen strategy works versus some of the other strategies you may be thinking about is, for example, let's just say you do a TikTok reel or you post on Instagram. That post is only going to be alive for about a day, and then it dies. Whereas if you create a microsite and it really gets hooked into SEO and AEO and GEO, whatever they're calling it these days, where the LLMs start to crawl it and start to cite you because you have valuable content and they link to it, well, at that point, it just never dies. It will just keep printing leads forever for as long as you're relevant and you keep it up to date. And in some cases, you may not even own the domain after you exit the company, but it'll keep printing leads, which is crazy. Now, before I go to principle number two, in case you're wondering who I am, hi, I'm TK. I run this channel called Unstoppable. And on this channel, I share actionable strategies and tactics on how to grow your AI and SaaS business faster. So if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, where you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with what they call the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, be sure to hit that like button, smash that like button. It's really great to see you back over here. All right, now let's go to number two. Strategy number two, which is, believe it or not, easier than the entire microsite strategy. This is the strategy that I'm most excited about, is organic social. And it's not just any sort of organic social, it's posting what we call middle of funnel content. Now, I could probably do an entire episode on top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel content. I probably will do that at some point, but let me just give you the primer on why middle of funnel is more important. Top of funnel is the stuff that you post, say on LinkedIn, and you get a ton of likes. You might post like, oh, I deadlifted 350 pounds, which is an actual post that I did on LinkedIn, and I got a ton of likes and a ton of engagement, but those don't turn into real leads. Those are top of funnel, gets you awareness, but doesn't turn into leads. And the whole key for demand generation is not only do you want to get attention from your ideal customers, you actually want to turn them into leads and pipeline and revenue. Middle of funnel is the type of post that you post where you're actually talking about the key problems your ideal customers are facing. And the key problems are highlighting the fact that you guys understand the problem and you actually have a solution to the problem. And the most important part about middle of funnel content is you're not saying, hey, come buy right now or come DM me right now. You're offering them some sort of a resource like a lead magnet, like we did for the microsite, so that they can take the next step without a huge commitment. This is super important, and I'll explain this under the why section, because not everyone is ready to buy right now. And that's one of the biggest mistakes founders of B2B companies make when they're trying to do any sort of demand gen. They're trying to post things and they're just trying to say, hey, do you want to buy now? Which doesn't work, which is why this lead magnet from the microsite, or even your middle of funnel content where you're highlighting the problems you solve and then saying, hey, if you want to learn more about this, just go grab a copy of my guide. It actually gets more leads and more attention, and then you can nurture them to become customers as they continue to build trust with you. That's the second strategy that's working better than ever. The best platforms that this is working for is LinkedIn and X, but it really depends on your ideal customer profile. And you want to figure out where they're spending time to see which organic social channel can actually work for you. But the key here is to do middle of funnel content, meaning you're speaking to their problems and what you've learned in solving them. And the second most important thing is tying it to an actual lead magnet that they download so they become a lead versus trying to sell them right away. So that's principle number two, organic social with middle of funnel content, linking to a lead magnet that turns into leads that you can then nurture and turn into sales calls or trials, is the most effective way of doing demand generation. And this is super powerful because instead of, for example, doing an outbound campaign where you're cold emailing someone that doesn't know you, they're coming to you. They're seeing your content in your feed, in their feed, and they're coming to you, which completely changes the dynamic. And at that point, they're already starting to trust you that much more because they came to you versus you barging in on them on their inbox uninvited. So this is why strategy number 2 is the most important strategy to actually deploy. If you get one thing from this video, if you do one thing at the end of this, it's to do organic social middle of funnel content. Now, before I go to number 3, which builds on number 2, because you might be thinking, TK, I really don't want to be, a creator or an influencer. I just want to grow my business and get more customers. I'm going to explain why you don't have to post organic social content forever and become a content creator, or be a broke creator, which is someone that gets a ton of likes and no leads or no pipeline. Now, before I go into that one, let me pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? There's a few things that really underpin this strategy. Number 1, demand generation is all about getting your ideal customers to come to you. Demand generation is about educating and out-teaching the competition. You're actually educating your ideal customers and building up the trust so that way they buy from you. And demand generation can be infinitely scalable. I'm going to show you that on the 3rd principle on how this all ties together. If you're starting to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? Also, if you want a copy of my 5-point AI and SaaS growth strategy guide, say that 10 times fast. When you put yes in the comments below, also put guide. And I'll link you to the guide so that you can get a complimentary copy of it where I go in depth on how you can implement some of these things and how this fits into a broader go-to-market strategy. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this episode. Just comment below and smash that like button while you're at it. We just love it when you do that. We put a lot of love into these videos. And let's go to number 3. Number 3 builds on number 2. So what you want to do is post organic social. You want to do middle funnel content. And you want to get the lead flow going into your lead magnet. Once you get the lead flow going, you don't have to post every day. You don't have to become a content creator. You don't have to become an influencer. Now you can switch to paid social and you can switch to paid AdWords. So what you want to do is take your best performing content, BFCs. You take your BFCs and you go to say LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, whatever it is, and say, hey, here's my ideal customer profile. Here's the best performing content. I will pay you to put it in more people that are in my ideal customer profile. And that way, overnight, you now have a lead generating and pipeline generating, a demand generation machine because you don't have to post anymore. Your best content will do the work for you and continue to generate more and more leads and traffic into your website. The other thing that you can do is based on this microsite strategy, when you do this strategy, you'll know certain keywords that your ideal customers are searching for. And you might wait for SEO to give you all the love that you can get and the LLMs to catch up, or you can run AdWords and say, hey, whenever someone searches for this keyword, I want you to show them my microsite. And that way, like, they're gonna get value and they're gonna become a lead. And you can do that as well. So basically, this 3rd strategy is where you do number 1 and or number 2, and then once it's working, you go to number 3 and say, hey, here's money, because I know when I get a lead, it's worth this much to me, and I can convert this many of these to pipeline and that many of these to proper revenue. So it's worth it to me. I'm willing to pay $100 a lead or $200 a lead, whatever it may be, and you can actually pay money to have this work overnight, and you don't have to post anymore, and you don't have to become a content creator at all. So those are the 3 strategies. Now, what I want to do is explain to you why this works, because just knowing the strategies and doing them blindly could work for you, and you're more than welcome to do that, but understanding why this works and which one to prioritize will make the biggest difference. One of the things when I was doing research for this video and I was working with my team is a lot of times there are different words that get thrown around, especially here on YouTube. So there's lead gen, there's lead generation, and then there's demand gen. And then finally, there's go-to-market strategy, which is a lot of my videos are about this. The whole point of doing marketing and sales and go-to-market and lead gen and demand gen is one simple thing. You want people to know you, you want them to like you want them to trust you, and then you want them to buy from you, and then you want them to buy more from you. You want to get that recurring revenue going. That's what most SaaS founders are really obsessed about, even AI founders. That's the whole point. Now, if you do lead generation, if you're just focused on generating leads, you're gonna get people that know you and maybe like you enough to download your lead magnet. So that's lead gen. If you do demand gen, you're gonna get people to know you, like you, and trust you enough so that they book a opportunity, they book a call, or they start a trial of your product with you. That's demand gen. So it goes further than lead gen. And then go-to-market strategy is lead gen plus demand gen plus revenue. So this means that not only are they going to trust you, they're going to buy from you, and they're going to keep buying from you, and then eventually they're actually going to refer you. Call that the full flywheel. So, and again, these get to be fancy words, and you've probably seen different videos from different people with all these different terms, and I think it gets overcomplicated. And if you really break it down, what we're really talking about is we're talking about marketing, and we're talking about sales, and maybe customer success when you're talking about retention, expansion, and recurring revenue and referrals. That's what we're talking about. So what you don't want is to do just lead gen, because you'll get a bunch of leads, but it never turns into real pipeline. No sales calls, no trials. That sucks. You can't do just demand gen, because that's just marketing. This will get you people to book calls, but you still have to sell them on it so they buy from you, and then they keep buying from you. So you have to do marketing and sales. And when you're talking about marketing and sales, that's when you're really talking about a proper go-to-market strategy. So demand gen is half of a proper go-to-market strategy. You might be asking, TK, what's the difference between lead gen and demand gen? I'm glad you asked. So the key here is what you do with the attention. So remember how I was telling you, like, there's just like basic marketing where you just get a bunch of likes and nothing happens? Well, that's like even worse. That's just like, we'll call it basic marketing, BS, because it's also BS. Because sometimes you'll hire an agency and they'll say, oh, you got 5 million impressions and you got 20,000 likes and you went viral. But then you look at your bank account and you look at your P&L and you're like, I didn't make any money from that. You made money from that. And that sucks. So that's the worst form of marketing. And that's why demand gen is the best form of marketing, because what it does is it recognizes that, hey, we don't want attention, we want leads, and we want pipeline. We want to make sure this is turning into sales meetings, which means that anything you post is going to be middle of funnel, valuable content. It's going to tie into a real lead magnet, and it's going to nurture them so that it goes towards an actual sales call. That's the job of demand gen. That's true demand gen. And then your sales process takes it from there and turns that call to actual revenue and turns into repeatable revenue. So that's sales, and that's where this full go-to-market strategy comes. Now, there's a reason why this is a little bit more complicated than we would all hope for it to be. Here's why. This is something that it shocked me when I first learned it. I want to put it in red. I want to put it in red, and I'm going to put it right over here. So when you look at your target customers, your ideal customer profile, even your total addressable market, which is a bigger set of that, there's a 95-5 rule, 5%, 95%. Only 5% of your ideal customers are buying now. The rest of them are somewhere along the journey of, they don't even know this is an important problem. They don't know that there's a solution. They don't know about you. They don't like you. They don't trust you. That's 95%. When you go out there and say, hey, here's my solution, do you want to buy? Unless you're speaking to this 5% of the market, it won't work. They're like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't need it. I don't even know you. Stop bothering me. That's why most ads don't work. That's why a lot of marketing doesn't work. What demand generation understands, and especially these three strategies, is they understand that 95% of the market is not fully actively buying, or they don't know enough to make a decision, which is why we're creating microsites, educating them. We're creating middle of funnel content, educating them. We're not trying to sell them, and we're saying, hey, here's another helpful guide to build the trust. And then encouraging them to say, hey, book a call with us. That's why demand gen is so powerful. They look at not just the 5% of the market, but they're speaking to the 95% of the market. Now, if you're like, TK, I actually don't want to do any of this. This seems too hard. I just want the 5% of the market that is actively buying. I'm like, cool. You didn't even have to watch this video. It's super easy. Skip all of this and just go to AdWords. Go to AdWords and find the keywords that signal high purchase intent and just bid on those. Now, here's the thing. You'll go over there and you'll realize those clicks cost hundreds of dollars. Why? Because your competitors already know those are in-market buyers. And so what they're gonna do is like, hey, I will pay infinite amounts of money because 90% chance they're gonna buy from us. We're a well-known brand. And they'll keep bidding on it. So it ends up being super expensive to sell, to market to this 5%, which is why you go to this 95%. And you get in early and you get them to know you, like you, trust you, and then buy from you. And that is where you get demand gen meeting a proper go-to-market strategy. That's where these two pieces come together. And that's why demand generation, there's an art and science to it to doing it right. And that's why these three strategies are so effective. All right, now let's recap. Number one, the first proven B2B demand generation strategy is to build out a microsite, educating your ideal customers about the problem that you solve, driving them to a lead magnet and your website, and nurturing those leads and converting them to opportunities, trials, and revenue. Number two is to post middle of funnel organic content on the social networking site where your ICP is spending the most time, driving them to a lead magnet and nurturing those leads and converting them to revenues. And number three is to take the best performing keywords and organic social content and paying the platforms to say, hey, I want this working around the clock. Here's my ideal customer profile. Here's my messaging. I just want leads printing day in and day out. And that's how you can scale it. Those are the three best strategies. Now, I promised you one last thing. I promised you which one should you start with. You should absolutely start with organic social. It's not easy to do, but it's easier than the rest. Number three requires you to have number two and number one working. So start with number two. Once you learn enough, then you'll get enough data to understand how you can build out the microsite. So then do the microsite. And once you have both of these working, then you can scale with ads and you can scale with certainty because you'll know your math. You'll know what a lead is worth to you. You'll know what percentage of those leads turns into opportunities and what percentage of them turns into revenue. You'll understand what your LTV is and you'll be able to say, here's how I want to invest in it. And that's how all of this comes together. Now, if you want to go in depth on how to think about your demand generation strategy, and also your broader go-to-market strategy on how you do the marketing and the sales and how these pieces come together and what the core pieces are to actually build out a proper go-to-market strategy so you can do all of these things, then you should absolutely grab a copy of my 5-point AI SaaS growth strategy guide. Now, if you want access to it, just comment below with guide and I'll link you to it. Also, if you want on-demand access to it, I've also included a link to it in the description below. So you can go into the description and click on it and grab your copy. It's completely free. Also, if you got value from this, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. I also drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics on how to grow your B2B AI or SaaS business faster. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon where you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. Also, in addition to the guide, you should also watch this episode. Inside of this episode, I just taught you what goes into a demand generation strategy and why it's important. In this episode, I explained the 6 steps to building out a proper go-to-market strategy, which includes your marketing and your sales so you can actually generate revenues. You should absolutely watch that episode next. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode and inside of the guide. Take care, everybody.